you. I'm calling the City Council meeting for McLendon-Chisholm into order at 6:30 p.m. Would you, Mr. Tucker, would you like to do a prayer, please?
If we could bow our heads. Dear Lord, thank you so much for allowing us to come together one more time to discuss the issues that confront our community. With your grace, will we seek your will, continue to protect all those that continue to protect us on a daily basis, our first responders, fire, and armed forces. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Councilmember Rooney, please say flags.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. God bless Texas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Okay, so rules of decorum are in effect. I'm going to start with citizen comments. Mr. Anthony Crawford, would you please come up to the... Do we have a microphone that's available for him? Thank you.
Anthony Crawford, 104 Lavender Place. Thank you for the opportunity to address you tonight. I'm here to make one simple request, that you, again, as a governing body, follow the desires of the people of this community and maintain growth outlined by the comprehensive plan approved by the City Council on September 29, 2021. The main desire of the citizens of McLendon-Chisholm was to maintain a country estate feel to the city.
Tony,
It's not on? There it is.
There we go.
This document specifically talks about the Heritage Center and states maximum density of one dwelling per acre for residential use. Conceptual plans of what the Heritage Center will look like are currently being developed. The comprehensive plan defines the Heritage Center as the future land use designation is located on the land new to around City Hall, in addition to private school district owned land, and intended to be a node for development of the showcases of city rural heritage, green spaces, natural areas, and country living activity center. Anticipated land uses or institutional uses associated with the city, county, and school district. Mixed-use development, combinations of residential, office, restaurant, retail, entertainment, arts and culture with a rural country feel. Uses relating to McLendon-Chisholm's heritage and our history in arts and culture and our parks, trails, open green spaces, ponds, creeks. Desired development characteristics are maximum density of one dwelling per acre of residential use, exclusive of floodplains, right-of-ways, drainage areas, and waterways should be within the HOA maintained common areas. Conservation development that goes along with green spaces, natural areas, development that diversifies the tax base, that people can enjoy grassroots community events and entertainment. Shaded, lighted, landscape trail system, connected to country living activity center. It keeps saying country living in there. It says rural. It says we want this to be the heritage of McLendon-Chisholm. McLendon-Chisholm's a farm community, has been a farm community. The rooftops are taken over, which is understandable. It's land. Everything's growing, but it's still a farm community. There's been some on city staff that would like to describe the word desired in such a way that somehow minimizes the impact of the comprehensive plan. What this minimization attempt basically does is discount the wishes and desires of the citizens who moved here for that rural feel. The P&Z recognized that by unanimously voting against the project because it is too high density. Taking 60-foot lots out has done nothing to minimize that density. The word desire is defined as a strong feeling of wanting to have something or wishing for something to happen. Used a few ways would be, I desire to have a good job, or I desire to live in a community who listens to its citizens, or I desire to maintain a rural country feel to the community I live in, or last but certainly not least, I desire to cast my vote for a candidate who has my best interest at heart. Desire works all different ways. You have an opportunity to slow this down and at least get the city back to the negotiating table to make this neighborhood what it could be. a reflection of the country rural feel we all desire. 335 rooftops does not do that. It may not be totally 1 acre lots. That's understandable. Certainly, I don't want to do Mr. Webb any harm, but certainly half-acre lots with 110-foot frontage and considerable setbacks. Right now, they're at 20-foot setbacks with 5 foot on either side. That's not a rural country feel. Would be a lot better for the Heritage Center. The current 20-foot setbacks and 5 on each side offered is nothing but high density. So it is my desire that you vote no this evening and let everyone start over again. Thank you.
Mr. Andy Clark? And sir, there's a button on the microphone. Please state your name and your address, please.
Here. Can you hear me? I'm Andy Clark. My wife Susan and I live at 3 Granite Ridge Drive, just down the road. I've been a resident of McLendon-Chisholm since 2021 when we moved here to be close to our youngest daughter and 2 grandchildren, her husband. And at the time we were looking for a home, there weren't a whole lot available. The housing market had gone crazy, and if you didn't bring a whole lot of cash, you weren't going to close on a house. Fortunately, we had sold our house. We had sold our house in Prosper before we even found this house, so we were in good shape there. Just to give you a little history, I sent an email to each council member in December 18th, 2023, after the council, with the exception of Mr. Tucker, voted to ignore the city's comprehensive plan and recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Committee regarding the high-density housing project planned here. Again, we moved from Prosper, a master plan community. Don't know if any of y'all are real familiar with it, but it's 32 square miles, so it was master planned by, I understand, the same company that master planned out South Lake. Because they're limited in their space, they planned it out to be able to accommodate a population of around 70,000. We moved there in 2009. There were 4,500 people there. Now they have 3 big high schools and I don't know how many thousands, but it will not grow to above 70,000 because they did a master plan and they stuck to it, unlike what has happened here. We keep up with our friends in Prosper who've been very happy with their city council, the mayor, and all the city officials who have adhered to that plan because they put it in place for a good reason. They wanted to preserve some feel of small town in the middle of a metroplex that was encroaching all around them, and they had no place to expand. So, like I said, we moved here to be closest to our daughter, whose family had moved here to Heath. And we moved from Prosper, found a house. I didn't want 1.5 acres, but that's what we got. And but the main reason we liked it was in Prosper, we had neighbors that were a little closer than we like. I grew up in Marshall, Texas. We lived for 30 years in Longview, Texas. I'm a physician. I practiced there for 30 years. We had a 1 acre lot. We had a creek in our backyard and cows, and in Prosper, we had sheep in our backyard, and we liked the open spaces, and I don't like to go out to my pool and look at people through the windows in their yards. So we moved here because it was close to our daughter. We looked all around here, drove our realtor crazy, and finally found this house and had sold our house, so we were able to close on this one and get a lot that was bigger than we wanted, but a nice yard, country living sort of field. And our realtor really just screened out all the houses that didn't meet our demands, that what we wanted, and the market was really tight trying to find a house then. The biggest thing was to avoid the crowds, people in our backyards, get the kind of country feel and get away from traffic. So, you know, every time we left Prosper, we had to face DFW traffic. We have a home on a lake out in East Texas, and it was 1 hour just to get out of the Metroplex to get there. Now it takes me 2 hours and 5 minutes. So we like that. But little did we know when we moved here, we had a co-op municipal water, or a co-op water company that was little more than a mom and pop store. They had no idea what they were doing. Thanks to Adrian and others, that was all brought to light and things have changed. But had we known that, and I'm sure other people who are looking to move here now know that, it probably hurts a little bit the real estate market. So the water was a problem. When the water got turned off, it was a big problem. I put in $90,000 of landscaping when that happened. So we lost a bunch, we saved a bunch. Yeah, I was out there in the middle of the night trying to hand water. So we miss some of the stuff at Prosper. I don't miss the traffic. We didn't ever have water problems. We did have rolling blackouts from time to time during storms, but we got away from all that to come here to find no water system that's reliable, that's getting better. I have opinions on that and what the city's trying to do about that too, but I'm not going to get into that. And now we have increasing traffic congestion. As you all know who live here, to get to town that way, you got two choices. And both of them are, 205. I've never had to drive anywhere since we moved to Prosper, had to do this, to put Waze in my phone to go to the grocery store. Because you never knew the best way to get there. You didn't want to get stuck in traffic. Now I have to do that every time we go, so that, as 205 gets more and more congested, as 550 gets more congested, we're kind of isolated. I might as well just go to Terrell to shop. I can get there quicker. So more congestion, water problems, and now developers, I assume these people here, want to come in and put in houses on lots that are smaller than the houses they probably live in. The lots are probably smaller than their houses. There's something wrong with that. I don't mind people having big houses. I've had big houses. I've had smaller houses. I have sort of a medium-sized house now. I don't begrudge anybody that. But I don't need to drive by nothing but rooftops. The first time I used to run urgent care clinics all over the Metroplex. The first time I ever drove out to our clinic in Flower Mound, I'm driving along 121. I thought I was seeing, it was late in the day, I thought I was seeing hills. It was rooftops, all asphalt. It took me a while to realize that's all it was a bunch of homes crammed together. Okay. So with 205 eventually widened, 550 is going to have to be widened. Now, you, City Council, I recognize not all of you were here then.
Okay. Did you already make 5 minutes? Okay. Can you just
wrap
up? Yeah, thank you, sir.
That the City Council ignored the Planning and Zoning Committee. I was here for those meetings. The recommendation was clear. It was totally ignored. So, as I said, I sent emails to every one of you. Mr. Tucker here responded. No one else did. I assume it went into your spam or trash folder pretty quickly because you got thousands of them probably. But I just do not understand how elected representatives can sit up here and ignore the will of the people who elected them. So I'm asking that you put a moratorium on this, or at least stop this for now, and sit back and study things a little bit more and listen to the people who voted for you. Some of you won't be here probably, some others will be here, but failing that, I really fear that many citizens are going to just assume that your votes, the City Council that voted in December, was influenced strongly by the developers, not by the people who elected you. Prove me wrong.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Okay. Is there anyone who has any issue on the consent agenda items that we need to remove that you consider contentious, or if not, then we can go ahead and vote for approval?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It all passed.
Mayor Pro Tem, this is Kyle. He's one of the principals of our auditing firm and our esteemed finance person, Ray Smith, who works closely with Kyle and with me in the development of this audit. As you know, it's something that's required by every city annually to have an independent audit taken. They've worked for months at doing this since we ended our fiscal year on September 30th. So these are the audited financials from ending September 30th, 2023. State law gives them 180 days to get it done. They've been done for a while, but just trying to find a time to make it to City Council. And what we had hoped the council will to listen to Kyle tonight, and what you need to do, what we'd like you to do, is to accept the audited financials. It doesn't need to be approved, but accepting a motion to accept the financials, and then we have to send it out to state agencies and other people once that process is done. So I'll turn it back over to.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Well, I'm excited that I don't look like an accountant. I've never gotten that comment that I look like a developer. I appreciate that. I don't want you to be like, there's our accountants over there in the corner. Yeah, that's okay. I appreciated that. All right. Well, let's see. I'm Kyle Caperton. I'm the audit partner at Murray Pascal Caperton. Our office is in Forney. I grew up in Forney in the 90s, went to A&M in the early 2000s, and have been doing you guys your audit for probably about 10 years now. And so I've seen you go from a tiny little building to here, and I've known some of you for quite a while. You know, obviously, anytime we're doing a presentation like this, I want to give you guys a chance to ask me any questions that you want to. You should have the audit in front of you. It's a miniature little novel. It's got plenty of information, and more than likely, if you end up with questions, you're going to feel more comfortable just calling me at my office or shooting me an email. So I just want to go ahead and throw that out there. If there's something that you see and I don't talk about it and you have a question, definitely feel free, call me. I'll come over here and meet you for lunch, whatever you want to do. I'll talk you through anything. And so just want you guys to feel comfortable doing that. All right, here you go. Here's your financial audit. Your year end is September 30th, 2023, just like Conrad was talking about. So if you just dive into this, a couple pages into it is our audit opinion letter. This is the opinion letter that you want it to be. It's short, it's sweet, it has all the required paragraphs, and it has no audit findings. And that's what you're hoping for. It's just a clean audit opinion, and so that's right there at the beginning, just to get that out of the way. I think a page, I'm just going to highlight a few things that I think are important for you guys to look at. If you flip over to page 9, I really like this page because it compares 2022 versus 2023. So you're able to kind of just at a high level, this isn't every single account, this isn't all of your files that Ray would be able to pull up for you. This is just high level, balance sheet across the top, income statement across the bottom. So your current assets, that's mostly your cash in the bank. So you can kind of see the change from 2022 up to 23. A couple other important categories there: capital assets, long-term outstanding bonds, other liabilities and deferred inflows, and then your net assets there at the bottom. All of those are good, healthy numbers, good, healthy position. Your numbers there at the bottom are your income statement. And you can see just some of the key categories there: charges for service, property taxes, franchise and sales tax, investment income, total revenues from 2022 up to 2023 stayed about 4.5 million. And then you can see just kind of some you can see your expense categories right there: general government, cultural and recreation, infrastructure, public safety, debt service, and utilities. And as you guys know, that utility department right now
is just the sewer that's going on in Sonoma Verde. This year, there were no developer contributed assets, and that's whenever, like, the Sonoma Verde does another one of their phases, and they contribute infrastructure, roads, water lines, things like that to you guys for your ownership. I am really not planning to go through this whole thing unless there's something you have in mind. I will point out towards the back, starting on about page 20, you have notes, and a few of the important notes talk about your debt, talk about your capital assets. You do have a couple of notes talking about the PID. We do just include a few disclosures in there about the PID and the amount of money that the PID has and the debt that the PID has. And then we also have a note here about your ARPA grant. You've got about $850,000 in that ARPA money, and I know Ray's on top of this and letting you guys know, and y'all have a plan in the works on how you're going to spend that. And so just highlighting that number, that's $850,000. And then back here at the very back, you got some high-level budget versus actual. But like all of you guys know, if you have any specific questions about your budget, I know Ray can run you the reports you need. And so this is just high level looking at, you know, summary level information, not all the specifics.
So I have two things.
Yes, ma'am.
One is I would like to make sure that we have on record about what is the city hall's debt and what is remaining.
Okay.
And I don't know if you want to point
Yep.
to a page to direct that, and I'll have a follow-up question after that.
Okay. Let me skip back to that page because I did jump over that and I didn't hit on it. So let me talk about it. Yeah. I'm actually going to point you to page 28. Because on page 28, you can see your principal and interest payments for the next 4 years, plus whatever is outstanding after those next 4 years. So there on page 28, I'm looking at long-term obligations, new city hall bond, and that goes back to 2015, $2 million. And then there you can see right there for 2024, you've got $95,000 of principal that you're about to pay, interest of $50,000, and that's how it works through that little table. So your total outstanding debt as of September 30th, 2023 was $1.4 million with expected interest of $356,000. So total payments of about 1.7.
My second question is there, do you plan on, I guess bringing up to our attention if there's any needs for TMRS, anything that's like related to retirement or any type of insurance? Is that something that you're prepared to share in a future budget workshop? Or is there anything in here that we need to note that there's been some changes in interest rates or any issues with that, with the retirement or insurance policies?
Yeah, there's a lot in here about TMRS and the pension plan. And honestly, it's probably overkill. I think it's like 10 or 15 pages that are required to put in here. But I'm not really following you of what you would like me to address about that. I'm sorry.
Years ago, we ended up having to change or put more money into it, and I just want to make sure that we're staying consistent,
Yes.
that we're putting in what we need to, and not, coming back later and like, oh, we need to put $60,000 more in because we were short.
Right. Okay. Ray, would you like to jump in on any of this conversation? Okay, hop in here. I think you're contributing everything you're supposed to, and the only time that you usually have a big swing in that is if you increase your 5, 6, 7% matching, or if you have new employees, new department, that sort of thing. And so from what I could tell for 2023, everything was contributed that was supposed to be contributed, and you're where you're supposed to be.
So, as Mayor Pro Tem, what you're referring to about that adjustment that was years back, it was a decision that was made to bring the funding up for some employees who were getting ready to retire to bring their funding level up for lack of a better word, prior years of service elsewhere. And that was a big adjustment, but it was something that was discussed and agreed upon. Over the last, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years, okay, what governs all of this is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, along with the actuarial computations done by the TMRS actuaries. And so now, and Cal referred to, there's what, 10 pages in the audit report that goes into the what all of the required reserves are for the retirement plan. And so we actually get reports now from the TMRS that tells us exactly what the liability, the funding requirement for that liability is. And you don't see those in the budget. They're on the balance sheet of the city's financials, but it's very detailed. There's future outflows, future inflows, there's all of these numbers, but at the end of the day, we know exactly what the funding requirement is based upon the demographics at the point in time that calculation was made. So, it's funded, the unfunded liability is not a big number, and it will get funded over time based upon, you know, the mix of employees and their ages and their compensation. But it's to your point, it's not an unknown. We know exactly what that number is, and it's reflected in the city's financials.
Wonderful, thank you.
Can I also add to that? If you go to page 30 of your audit, and I think this is what you're asking as well as, and it's, I mean, Ray is smart and he talks in this different language called finance, and Kyle's like that too, but they're not developers. But that was a funny. But if you look at number C, it tells you what the city has selected, and the city has selected a contribution rate into TMRS of 7%. The city selected a matching percent of 2. You can have 1, 1.5, or 2, and through actuarially tables, they create what says there using the entry age normal, or the EAN, the actuarial cost method. The city's contribution rate is based on the liabilities created from the benefit plan options selected by the city. So what we as a city have selected as our TMRS plan, then they take actuarial analysis. I'm telling you in a little more English than what Ray told you the same exact thing pretty much. Based on the age of employees, based on how long they're going to live, and where they are in the system, and all these different things, and based on what the city itself has chosen as our specific TMRS plan. That's how they create a percentage that you're doing. And then they look at that actuarial plan, and their pension liability is, which I guess you were looking at, which is D. You go back and they'll look at that and say, okay, based on inflation rate, and based on all these things with the actuary, and how many employees you have, and when they're going to retire, and how much money you need to be saving, et cetera, they develop a percentage that you have to match that every year. And I know we've had new employees look at that, and me myself say, I thought they're matching 2 to 1. It's like, yeah, they are, but it's kind of, how to explain it is a little bit more difficult based on their actuarial plan. But if you read on page 30, they've done it in pretty good English of how that works and how that. So, but the city overall has met. It may change a little bit, and every year it changes some percentages based on what's going on. But the city is not even remotely close. Not a Chicago that we're unfunded. And lots of these other major cities. I mean, the city of Houston took out a bond, which I've never heard of this type of bond. It was a pension bond to pay off their former debts. and took out millions of dollars to pay off their, I mean, to borrow from here to give to here, so they could pay it down, and they were playing the game of interest rates and stuff like that. Sometimes you call it arbitrage. No, I won't. No, I mean, they're doing everything legal. I'm not even remotely saying people are doing something illegal, but it is a big issue, and that's probably why you brought it up throughout the country. Most private sector businesses are out of the pension game. I mean, they're defined contributions now, and you play the equity bond market instead of a defined benefit. And we have a pension, which is a defined benefit, and this is how, basically on page 30, is how that defined benefit is developed. And some cities are dropping the defined contributions, or even somebody that works after this year. Actually, not cities make the defining choices. The state makes the overall. I mean, everybody's within the state Texas municipal retirement system. So,
thank you for that, because I was the age versus years of service. I think that was very helpful. Does anyone else have any questions, Malcolm?
I had a question. Within the budget, there are various items, and costs are increasing continually, it seems. What items might be increasing more rapidly than others that are going to affect the budget for next year coming? What should we anticipate along those lines, if you can just elaborate on one or two?
I would probably not think that's a good question for me to answer.
Yeah, he as an auditor evaluates what we've done with our financials over the past year.
I know, I'm still living in 2023.
I mean, healthcare is something that went up 12% last year and 23% the year before. Can we expect an increase in healthcare? Probably. As much as I mean, there's certain areas that within the budget, and Jeff's going to be an expert at that budget thing.
I just made the assumption that, you know, having audited the budget, they were seeing, you know, variations in cost.
Right.
They could determine quite easily that. But if that's not the case, that it doesn't get directed to you, I can certainly talk to our city administrator and look at it from that standpoint. That's fine.
Our auditors audit the financials and not the budget. I mean, I'm sure he looks at the budget, but he looks at I mean, just like you get a monthly financial in your packet there.
Right, and I'm definitely not looking ahead at the 2024 budget to audit what changes are happening for the next year. I mean, I look at it just as what's coming up. Are you guys getting a police department? Are you guys doing whatever? But I'm not auditing 2024 yet.
Get that. Okay, anybody else have any questions? Anyone would like to make a motion to accept?
Make a motion to accept audit.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, now we're on 6.2, presentation and action regarding the request to purchase the operational budgeting module from ClearGov for the purpose of providing clarity and transparency during the budget process. It will also help the city create a streamlined process for the creation of our digital budget book as we submit for a GFOA Distinguished Budget Award. Mr. White.
How are y'all doing this evening? So great segue into budget. So currently we're working with a company called ClearGov. They help us create a digital budget book with the goal of submitting it for a GFOA Distinguished Budget Award. So this award would represent a significant achievement for the city. It reflects our commitment to meeting the highest principles of government budgeting. And in order to receive the budget award, we have to satisfy nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation. So what I would like to propose is that we get this module from ClearGov, who we already use for part of their services. This is an add-on. It would bring additional clarity and transparency to both the council and our residents. It's called the Operational Budgeting Module. Some of the key features of it are a dashboard, which allows you to quickly see and share the status as the budget is being developed. It automatically aggregates all budget requests in one place, making the process much more simple. There's AI-driven forecasting that enables unlimited forecast, in which we can easily modify assumptions and instantly see the impact of our potential decisions. So we can do unlimited forecasting options to if we do various things. There's a custom report builder that will enable us to share our budget easily with internal and external stakeholders, and it will filter straight into our digital budget books once our budget is adopted. Finally, my personal favorite feature is a centralized location for all requests, comments, and documentations for all budget requests. So rather than emails going back and forth, taking weeks, if not months, to decide what we want to do and agree on, there's one centralized location. Everyone can upload pictures, they can put comments, and then that can be seen by everyone on the team. The process starts by building that dashboard, which mimics our chart of accounts, which we are working on right now, updating to match their standards that are required. We'll then be able to send invitations to individuals who can submit their budget requests, and as I said, streamline the budget review process. We'll then be able to create, as I mentioned, unlimited budgets that can go out multiple years. So as we start to look at projects that might take more than 1 year to complete, we can actually forecast and look at those in multiple year periods. And it will overall just give us a beautiful, well-organized budget as part of our submission for GFOA Distinguished Budget Award. So the cost for the remainder of this fiscal year, including prorated annual cost and the initial setup fee, is just under $6,000. And I'd like to thank you for your time this evening and just request that someone would make a motion to approve this request.
So the setup cost is $6,000, you said?
Yeah, it's just under $6,000.
And so what's the maintenance cost on a yearly basis?
It is $7,200 per year. So there's a there's a one-time fee of $1,440, and then prorated, it's about $4,244, I believe, is the number for the remainder of our fiscal year. So from March 1 through the end of September. So, and then starting next year, it would be $7,200 per year.
But that's for the entire ClearGov package, correct? Not just this module?
That is just for this module.
Oh, okay.
So we're currently paying about $4,500 for just the budget book. So this is an add-on to that basically allows us to build everything in one place. It then pushes it all to the budget book. As Ray can attest to, the budget book is a pretty big project to put together. There's a lot of stuff other than just the budget. There's a lot of verbiage about the city, about a lot of different things that go into that. And this is going to help us kind of put a nice little bow around it so that we can get it in the budget book and make our budget appear much nicer, both for you guys to look at and evaluate, as well as that we'll put on our website for our citizens to be able to see.
That's nice to hear.
I'm familiar with the award. Actually, I know that Fate received this award at one point in time. I think it was last year, just monitoring their meetings over there. Are there other cities in the area that also utilize this?
The ClearGov?
ClearGov.
It is the second largest budgeting company for municipalities in the country, behind Excel. And if you've ever worked with Excel for a budget of our size, you don't want to work with Excel. So it is an extremely popular budgeting software. I could not tell you specifically. I know there's a handful of cities in Texas that do use it. Texas is a newer state for them. I want to say they have about 19 cities in Texas, but they've just entered Texas, I believe, in the past 12 months.
So I assume that this is going to help you guys in making the budget run a little bit more efficiently and effectively, and make your work a little easier?
Absolutely.
And allow you to go to other tasks, I would assume?
Yes, sir.
So
Give us more time to work on other things. The budget's the biggest task that we have in a year. It takes, months and months to complete. This should hopefully streamline that and make it a lot easier.
So you consider this a good investment?
Absolutely,
With
yes,
a
sir.
return on the investment?
Yes, sir.
So we've heard about, you brought up Excel as being the largest. This would be the second largest. What about additional competitors? And I want to hear about the full support that are they going to provide full support as part of this licensing agreement? To what extent are we going to have to be paying if there's a mistake or a problem or a bug or anything like this? I want to find out what our level of participation is in this new contract.
Yes, sir. So they do have ongoing support. I've got an account executive that I can reach out to at any point in time. They have online videos, and then of course they do an onboarding process when you set this up, so that they help you get it all set up, make sure that you understand everything, and then, like I said, have access to asking questions anytime I need to. As far as other programs, there are definitely other programs that do this. The majority of them come as a package with a lot of other programs. For example, ERPs that involve accounting software, payroll, HR, permitting, and budgeting is one of the things that gets included in a lot of those. So there definitely are other options. I'm sure there are less expensive options. However, this is one of the higher quality ones that's not the price of a full ERP system that's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars.
And thank you. Do we know, Conrad, whether or not they're also going to be able to provide professional development opportunities, people to be trained and on-ramped onto this for the city?
They do. They assign. They assign us our own person. It's actually a software in the cloud. So we send them data and they drop it into the system. So they don't send us a hard copy of any software that, here you go, good luck. It's there in the cloud and they work with us throughout the whole process. It's a software that we have currently in the city for the past 3 years. It just hasn't been utilized to where we need it. And this year is our time to hit it out of the park.
Thank you.
Any other questions from them?
Just to echo off of Councilmember Day, he asked if there were other companies. So I'm sure there are that provide probably close to the same compatible service that could reduce the cost. I understand this one's the number 2, but you know, in your gauge of number 3 and 4 on the list, would they be just as compatible that we can save the city some money? If it's along the same lines, I understand this is for a prestigious award, but I'm more concerned with cost, not awards. So I would like to know if there is another company that we could look at, and what's that price difference? Because if it is not as much of a price difference, then yes, I could see going with this. But if it is something that saves thousands, then maybe we should at least look and see what they have.
I did not look at other companies, honestly, because we're already using this company and this is something that integrates directly into it. So if we were to go with another company, to Councilmember Tucker's point, it would be a lot less efficient because we would create it in one system and then we'd have to convert everything to put it into theirs for the digital budget portion.
Perfect, that makes sense. Then I would definitely say that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone would like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the purchase of the operational budget module from ClearGov.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, and it has passed.
Do you think ClearGov can fix the?
So just to give props to Mr. White, he has a little bit of a tech background, so he's already successfully helped us in the conference room. We have web capability to have Zoom meetings in there instead of huddling right around our computers to have Zoom meetings and stuff. So thank you so much for your special talent and taking the initiative to do that. Okay, so we are moving on to 6.3, discussion and action for application changes by the city staff for the planning department to add language on applications stating that developers must be able to provide potable water sufficient to meet our fire code standards for fighting fires. Mr. Woodbury, would you please come up to the podium? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. So this is just an update to last meeting 2 Tuesdays ago. So I'm just going to go through the staff report, and I just want to highlight the last paragraph where it says the following actions have been taken as part of updating the City of McLendon-Chisholm's preliminary plat application. So number 2, item E, It's on the original, it says proposed water supply, and so that has been updated to read proposed water service plan. And then item number 15 is the addition of a new item, and that will read an approved water service plan from a municipal water supply, rural water supply corporation, municipal utility district, MUD. Individually owned wells or privately owned water systems shall be furnished to the city at the time of application filing. And also in the packet, you will see the preliminary plat checklist. So those are the proposed changes, and item 2E is highlighted, and item 15 is also highlighted. There's also the preliminary plat checklist from October 9th, 2017, which is the current version that is online, and then the staff report as well. And at this time, I will take any questions if you have any.
Councilmember Tucker, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I asked this question some time ago, is what goes into a water service plan? I mean, I see that you're calling for it on the preliminary plat checklist, but I've never understood what constitutes the plan. What are the criteria that we're going to say, yes, this is an acceptable plan? Where is anything like that available?
So right now, I believe that there has been will serve letters for water supply. And so currently what we're doing as staff is we're reviewing kind of the franchise agreements that the city has through its water suppliers. And then we're also looking at water service plans that various developers have submitted to us. And through that, we're going to try to create a uniform type of water service plan to say, you know, you might be getting your water from High Point, from Blackland, from whoever, RCH maybe, but this is the form that you need to use. These are all the criteria that you kind of need to have. So we're kind of working to get that form together as we're working to look at water service plans that have been submitted, as well as franchise agreements that the city has with water as well.
Okay. Okay, so I'm real anxious to find out. You know, on this.
You may need to, so we don't. So if it helps out a little bit, this is not uncommon necessarily. Now, just FYI to council, this will still have to come back to y'all because we have to amend our subdivision ordinance because if we're going to do changes to plats, it's still got to, we've got to amend our subdivision ordinance to bring it back to you all. So don't think that this is going to, if y'all want to approve it, this immediately going into effect tonight. So don't worry about that. In a little more direct answer to your question, where it normally comes about is when you've got a development plan that's coming. And so a city may say, hey, look, you know, we get to determine, it's in the subdivision ordinance, we get to determine that the public facilities are going to be adequate to support your development. Or you can say, hey, look, some cities will say, hey, we can require a water study supported by engineering data that are going to show that the demand projections that your development is going to bring us are going to be satisfied. So those are just a couple of different ways that I've seen them. I've done them in different things like that in the past, but it's usually part of the development plan, and it's included. It's part. You're changing it to be part of the development plan when they submit that. So what you're talking about, the study, if it's coming in, it'll be you basically just want to have the criteria that's going to show that whatever you're building, you've got enough water to support that. And so, like I said, some cities will require engineering data to support that water demand for your development. And I think what ACE is saying, we're trying to get a feel from council just in general, how y'all feel about something like that. Because it's a change, I mean, it's a change and it's going to affect developers. And I think we all know about developers. Anytime you make them do anything they don't want to do, they get all huffy and puffy about it. So that's going to be met with some backlash. So we want to make sure, I'm just making sure that this is something, hey, should we go forward with this? And then we can bring back something with more detail, because that will actually be what's in the subdivision ordinance that y'all will have to vote to amend, if that helps.
Yeah, I was looking for something a little bit more substantive, like studies, whatever that entails. And so
right,
something that was a little bit more factually based rather than just, yeah, we have a plan, but what does the plan look like? Well, we have a plan. That doesn't. Right,
and that's what we're going to get feedback from y'all. Do y'all want to include, hey, we want engineering data on that? What would y'all want? And Asa knows, he's like, these are some typical general things that, because he said he's looked, right. And these are typical general normal things that cities have used to determine. Remember, the goal is, and all, even though we do it differently, the bottom line is what the cities want. They want proof and evidence that there is an adequate water supply to support the project, the development that you're bringing in to our city or ETJ.
Yeah, we need to be proactive as a city, because there's been a number of issues that we have seen where developments don't have adequate water supply, and this is being proactive to make sure that we are requiring that they are meeting not just a will-serve letter, it's going beyond that and saying that they have the data, and it could be the engineering plans. And we were successful in, what was the name of that one? Ridge Point, they just did that. They did a water study with High Point SUD, and there was no pushback or issue with that. They understood the situation that we're in, and making sure that they're you know, they were being faithful to the city to make every effort to address that. So in this particular case, oh look, our mayor just walked in. So we want to make sure that we're being proactive in getting some requirements set in these documents. This is for like new developments that will be coming in. So we want to make sure that we have the checklist done, and then what is expected in the requirement. Mr. Holla.
Just to add on to what Mayor Pro Tem said, because it's for new development, obviously it's not effective until the ordinance is amended to pass. I would suspect if y'all are in favor of it and have an idea, you know, Ace has some suggestions on, I'm assuming he does, on some maybe what y'all want to see. Well, then when we come back in the next meeting, we can have a proposed amended subdivision ordinance for your review, so it could go into effect then. Because, I mean, sure, you can do it whenever you want, but with the development that we have coming up, you know, once a month or so, something like that, the longer you wait, the more developers will not be required to comply with it. Because, again, you can't until the ordinance is in.
No, I think it's propitious now to get going on this and have it really standardized so the public knows what's going on, that, you know, we're letting them know that, you know, we're trying to have a high standard when it comes to water, because water is the big concern in Texas, but very much a concern here in McLendon-Chisholm.
I'm just glad we don't have a problem with water.
Yeah.
Is there
Go
any?
ahead and keep going. I'm gonna get
Okay.
on.
Is there any other questions? Is there any other questions from council that would like to ask Mr. Asa Woodbury?
Actually, really back to Michael really quickly. So effectively, I'm just piggybacking off the question. It seems like right now this is going to put it kind of into an ad hoc state. It's going to be arbitrary in terms of the data that we get back from a developer. Yeah. So I think to his point is when we put the screws to this is going to happen when we look at our subdivision regs. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
arbitrary, capricious, y'all should all memorize that. That is the worst thing in the world for somebody to claim against an ordinance. It is the death knell of an ordinance in a courtroom, I'm just telling you. So this would not be arbitrary and capricious. This would be the complete antithesis to arbitrary and capricious. This is organized, well thought out, planned. It is good for the health, safety, and welfare of the community, because now when they come in, they submit a development plan. Now it's our real plan. We're developing. Now we have given you, you know, whatever you've required of us, and it could be unified. So we're not going to treat anybody differently. We're going to apply it to everybody. Now we know what we need to give you to show you that the water supply that we have and that we've secured is adequate to support the full development that we're building out. You know, whether phase 1, phase 2, et cetera.
Okay, and this is administratively, there's other things that will come to pass on this, and then you will be bringing back to council on the other items.
Yes.
That's good. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Since the mayor is here, I'm going to make a motion to approve the application changes by the city staff for the planning and department to add language on the application stating that developers must be able to provide potable water sufficient to meet our fire code standards for fighting fires. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
All right, guys, I apologize, getting here late. We're now moving on to 6.4, consider approval of an ordinance amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and zoning map by granting a change in zoning district from AG agriculture to PD plan development zoning district for the Legacy Park Estates. Is that you as well, Asa?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I just had one quick thing to note on this agenda item. So whoever makes the motion, I just want to be very clear that there is a bit of a typo in this agenda item. So it should read not zoning district from AG agriculture, should be PD Triple Creek to PD Legacy Park Estates. So whoever makes the motion, it should be from PD Triple Creek to PD Legacy Park Estates. So the AG agriculture is not supposed to be there. So instead of that, it should be PD Triple Creek. But yes.
Yeah. Okay. Y'all get to decide what you want to do. I would recommend what Asa just told us is, to me, my opinion, y'all are free to disregard it, but my opinion, fatally deficient from what's posted on the agenda. So so I would recommend, no action. There's no, this is not plat, so we don't have to worry about a timeline or anything like that. We just simply put it back, not a big deal. We just put it back on the next agenda. But we would, the way he set it out, we need to make sure that happens next time.
I have to agree with our consultation or our advice from our city attorney. If it was printed wrong,
Yeah.
we need to do it right.
Well, I'm glad you have to, agree with me. I appreciate it. Thank you,
So,
Mayor. Thank you.
one thing to also note on there, the 328, because I think it was like 335. Did it come down to 328?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's not 335. It is 328 homes now.
The next time you come and bring this item to City Council, can you go ahead and include your staff report about the process of, I know it's a little extra work, but mention that the process of the ordinance and then plan development and then what is important about being specific in the items listed in this particular ordinance, because I think it would be helpful for, for transparency's sake, but also adding to the typo issue. So thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. When I bring the item back at the next council meeting, I will attach the staff report as well, kind of documenting those challenges. Yeah.
All right. It is. All right, guys, we're going to go to 6.6 and 6.7, but we're going to go into those under executive session items 7.1 and 7.2, which is adjourned into executive session closed meeting in accordance with Texas Government Code Section 551.074 little a 1, personnel matters to deliberate in the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. City administrator and city secretary, I'm sorry, and not 7.2, just 7.1. And that will involve both 6.6 and 6.7.
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to go into both at the same time. 7.2, adjourn into executive session, closed meeting in accordance with Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with the attorney, discuss the status of the city's current PUC application as it relates to RCH, its systems, and any other PUC application-related issues. The time is 7:29. We will be moving into executive session at this point in time. Sorry, my mic was not on. 9:31, we are back from executive session. In relation to agenda item 6.5, update on issues related to water, we discussed paperwork that was received back from Public Utility Commission? Public Utility Commission, saying we were deficient on the application, but that we could still refile it. Moving on to 6.6.
No action was taken.
No action was taken on 6.6. On 6.7, no action taken at this point in time either. 6.6 and 6.7 were both under executive session item 7.1. 6.5 was discussed under executive session of 7.2. All right. That being said, we will move down to council member reports, announcements. I don't have anything. I wasn't here for the last meeting. I spent the better part of this month in Italy and Spain. First time to Europe, had a wonderful time. Can't wait to go back. Mayor Pro Tem, you have any?
I attended the Rockwell ISD's bond facilities meeting, and we were able to go out into different groups, and so it still looks like we're still taking input from everybody, all the stakeholders in regard to the facilities and the types of programs. So we're to lead into potential presentations through the Rockwell ISD Board of Trustees to consider possible bond programs that will be on the election ballot. So.
Very cool. Dan? Okay. Brian? Floyd? Mr. Day, I know we hadn't really assigned you anything yet, but you gave.
No, not really.
Okay. All right, guys. It's the end of February. I know I'm gonna be just a little early because our next council meeting will be prior to, but be cognizant spring break's about to hit. We'll have a bunch of kiddos out running around mid-March. So just be conscious of that. I did notice that the Grand Canyon of craters in Sonoma Verde that everybody talks about on the main entrance has been torn apart, and they're in the process of fixing it. And I will say the same thing I've heard some people say in some of the social media sites. I hope it works this time. I hope it gets fixed right this time where it doesn't crater in 6 months. But they are in the process of fixing it. That's all I've got. It is 9:34. We have met everything on the agenda. Meeting adjourned.